In the quiet town of Elmendorf, Texas, a strange and terrifying legend haunts the dusty streets. It's a story that echoes through the decades. A tale of murder, mystery, and a man whose name has become synonymous with evil. Joe Ball, also known as the Butcher of Elmendorf, was a man whose life unraveled into one of the darkest chapters in Texas history. His tale has fascinated and horrified true crime enthusiasts for decades. Today let us explore what really happened in that tiny town on the edge of nowhere. Born in January 1896, Joe Ball grew up in the rough terrain of South Texas. A man who saw violence early in his life. Ball served in World War I, where the brutal realities of combat may have laid the foundation for the person he would become. When he returned home, Ball sought out a life far removed from the horrors of war. He opened a small bar in Elmendorf, where locals would come to drink, listen to live music, and maybe catch a glimpse of the 5 alligators Ball kept behind the bar as a strange sideshow attraction. The bar, known as the Sociable Inn, became a local curiosity, not just because of the alligators he kept, but because Joe himself was a larger-than-life figure. He was known as an odd but likable man, albeit with a short temper and a rough demeanor. However, as time passed, strange rumors began to circulate around the town. People started to whisper about Joe Ball, about the women who worked for him and seemed to disappear without a trace. Between the 1930s and 1940s, several women connected to Joe Ball went missing. These weren't just random disappearances, these women had all been seen with Ball before they vanished. One of them was his barmaid, Hazel Brown, and another was Minnie Gothard, who Ball had also been romantically involved with. Then there was his wife, Dolores, who was last seen in 1942. As the bodies piled up, or rather, as more people seemed to vanish, locals began to grow suspicious. The authorities, who initially were hesitant to investigate, finally stepped in when a former employee, Clifford Wheeler, confessed. Wheeler, who had been Joe Ball's handyman, told detectives that Ball had murdered the women and disposed of their bodies in the most grotesque way imaginable, feeding them to his alligators. It was a claim that shocked the town to its core. The thought of Joe Ball, the man behind the bar, feeding human remains to his pet alligators was almost too horrifying to believe. But as the investigation deepened, it seemed the stories were more than just local gossip. Detectives began to put the pieces together, and the true scale of Ball's crimes started to emerge. Later, Wheeler led investigators to the spot behind the bar where Ball had disposed of some of the bodies. Remains were uncovered, though they were too badly decomposed to be fully identified. The alligator pit, while horrifying, couldn't yield conclusive evidence of human remains, but the circumstantial evidence piled up, leaving little doubt in the minds of investigators that Joe Ball was a killer. On September 24, 1938, police finally confronted Joe Ball at his bar. It was a tense moment, and Ball, cornered and realizing that there was no escape, reached for his gun. Without hesitation, he took his own life with a single gunshot to the head, leaving behind more questions than answers. With Joe Ball's death, the dark chapter in Elmendorf's history seemed to come to a sudden and tragic end. But the mystery surrounding the case persisted. To this day, no one knows exactly how many women Ball killed or the full extent of his gruesome deeds. Some say there could have been as many as 20 victims, while others believe the number is even higher. The legend of Joe Ball has lived on, a strange mix of fact and folklore. His story has been passed down through generations, inspiring both terror and fascination. The idea of a man so deeply connected to violence and death that he could turn something as innocent as a bar into a murder scene, and feed his victims to alligators, feels like something out of a horror movie. But in the case of Joe Ball, the line between fact and fiction becomes blurred, making it one of the most notorious true crime stories in Texas history. The Butcher of Elmendorf may be gone, but his story remains, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the most unexpected places. So, next time you hear about a strange story in a quiet town, remember Joe Ball, the man who turned a small Texas town into the setting for one of the most chilling stories of all time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to dive deeper into more true crime stories, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And let us know in the comments what dark stories you'd like us to explore next. Until then, stay curious and stay safe.